Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
8:07 on the Morning Majority. The Occupy Wall Street protests all over the country continue to get weirder and occasionally disturbing. In New York, they have a rape protection tent now for women that has guards near it so that they can protect them from sexual assault.
It's amazing.
Here in Washington, there was a little bit of violence when the Occupy Wall Streeters tried to storm the Defending American Dream Summit, which is it's Americans for Prosperity, which is connected to the Koch brothers, who are, of course, the ultimate evil. Although I've heard that one of the Kochs walked through the protests and was unrecognized. So we're going to talk to Kerry Picket, who was around this weekend. How's it going, Kerry?
Very well, Mary Catherine. You know, it was very interesting, because David Koch, he quite literally walked through those protests with a bunch of his friends and associates, and with all that ire that was going on, they even had like a very big projection of his face on the wall, and they didn't even recognize him. It was fascinating. But it really did start with about hundreds of protesters coming down to the D.C. Convention Center, and they were doing all their chants and so on and so forth, and they ended up forming a ring around the convention center. They pretty much blocked off all the doors. One of your colleagues, Mary Catherine, over the Daily Caller, was harassed.
Yes, yelled at repeatedly.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her outside the doors as they were trying to quite literally bust their way in. And it was getting pretty nasty at that point. And so the security wasn't letting anyone in. We weren't allowed to go out. And then eventually, when people were trying to get through the intersections and people were getting into their cars, we couldn't actually even get through the traffic area. So apparently, it looked like the protesters decided, well, if you're in a very nice car, we're not going to let you through.
Do I have this right that some of these guys were in masks and obscuring their face with bandanas like they didn't want to be seen? Is that right?
Yeah, those are the anarchists.
Yeah, the anarchists. That's right.
yeah.
Lovely
that's how
people.
They pretty much identified themselves. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I actually spent an evening over at Occupy Wall Street last week, and it's a sort of interesting thing where you get to know them a bit, and that like safety tent that Mary Catherine just brought up. I can tell you that's probably going to last maybe a couple of days before the natives begin to get restless and start jumping to other people's tents. I don't see it lasting too long.
Can you compare and contrast the differences between these DC Occupy Wall Street? Are they all the same type of people there, and the same kind of angst and grievances that they say are against them?
You know what? I think that a lot of these people jump from Occupy to Occupy.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people will say, well, I was just at Occupy Boston. Yeah, now I'm going up to Occupy Portland. They kind of have these like Occupy travelers who just sort of just like to cause trouble from encampment to encampment. So, just in general, these are just general protesters who just are looking to continue the movement.
We're talking with Kerry Picket, editor of the Water Cooler blog and editorial page writer of the Washington Times. You said there was a reporter from the Daily Caller who was harassed?
She was yelled at offensively, specifically targeted for what she was wearing, and accosted verbally. Michelle Fields.
Michelle Fields.
Yeah.
Why didn't they like her? Just because she was a reporter, or because she was asking questions?
Because she had that big cube on that microphone of hers.
Said the Daily Caller.
Oh my God!
Exactly.
Well, there you go.
But there were also reports of a 78-year-old woman who was attending the Americans for Prosperity Summit, who came out of the building and apparently at some point fell downstairs because of the confrontation with Occupy Wall Streeters. And let me get your take on this, Kerry. So I've seen people, liberals on my Twitter feed, talking about they were just very peaceful outside the convention center, and yes, they may have been blocking a roadway, but basically some dude in a Lexus hit them. What was your sense of the confrontation or contact between cars and people at this event?
This is always the controversy in terms of, okay, well, they like to say, well, we were just being peaceful, blocking an intersection, which normal people generally don't do.
Right.
And so, and then of course you have people, someone who's in a car, and as far as I understand, you had some people who may have jumped onto the car.
Oh my!
And then the person began to drive because he said he had the green light. But then, of course, you have some people who said that he just plowed through 3 people.
Right.
Now, cops are saying that they interviewed 2 non-involved witnesses who, who gave them as best a description as possible. The car was not cited. Occupy DC is going to have some big press conference, I think, at around 12 o'clock. And they're going to complain about how they were brutalized.
Right. The driver was let go because it was determined that he had the green light, and many liberals are in very high dudgeon about the fact that he was let go.
Yeah, exactly. And even the 78-year-old woman who was an AFP attendee, the American First Prosperity attendee, who fell down and, as she was trying to get through this huge throng of protesters. Many are saying that, well, she was pushed by the protesters, and the protesters saying, no, she was actually pushed by the AFP people because they're a bunch of idiots who don't know how to protect their own people, and so now there's people arguing over that as well. So,
well, this is what concerns me. I think that there probably are people who out there who are maybe, in my opinion, misguided, but they're peaceful and they just want to make their point. Okay, good and fine. But infused within this group are these people who are anarchists, who cover their face. They have violent tendencies, and I speak from some personal experience. By the way, Mary Catherine, tell your friend, when I worked at the Fox News Channel, if we had to go out and deal with the black bloc or the anarchist, we took the little cube off our microphone. I mean, we're not stupid, Come on. That's like drawing fire. But these people, are serious and unpredictable and have caused, they're violent and they've done damage in the past. I think that this is the great danger of this movement, is they're infused with these people who are really a dangerous element.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, Mary Catherine, definitely tell her to take the cube off that microphone and don't wear the dress and high heels. You definitely just
But what does it tell us that that's the requirement for being among the Occupy Wall Streeters? Perhaps that they're not as peaceful as one would hope.
Well, it's better to not have the flag and avoid the beating. That's my philosophy in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting, I remember when I was covering these protests back in the early 2000s when they were the anti-war protests, and I remember I was tackled by a lot of these people. They don't care, whether you're a man, woman, doesn't matter. They will take you down. That's exactly their
the amount of bad press they receive for it is nothing compared to a misspelling on a Tea Party sign.
That's right.
Friends.
All right,
Thanks,
Kerry,
Kerry.
good talking to you.